One day, God and Satan sat playing a game of chess, one across the table from the other. The game was all but over. As God moved in with his queen and blocked with his castle, it was checkmate. In the world below, a battle was just won for the good guys, whomever they may be these days. Satan cursed, "Damn you, you cheated." And God said, "'Tis not I who cheated, but you who cheated yourself." God stood to his feet and looked around. They were on a cloud. The gates of heaven were off to the side. St. Peter reading a large book. "Just let me in. You're being unreasonable. That was so long ago. Why do you keep holding a grudge? That's childish." To which God replied, "Childish? You've been whining for 3,500,000 years, and you kill people, entire civilizations for kicks. It's not what you did, it's what you do. You're just a dick, Satan. A big old floppy dildo of a dick, okay? You're not getting in. Be grateful I let you have your little prison planet. Isn't that good enough?" To which Satan said, "No, I'm bored. They were more fun as monkeys." God laughed and said, "Well, whose fault is it they are no longer monkeys? You can't blame me for that one. Who likes to sex up the animals there, Satan?" Satan just narrowed his eyes, knowing he was beat. So he said, "Okay, how about this? Let's have a wager. If I win, you let me back in. And if you win, I'll go into the pit for 1,000 years. And you can have the world." God said, "I already own the world. You know that. Besides, even though I own it, I don't even want it. Why do you think I gave it to you?" And Satan replied, "Because you love me." At that, God said, "You always were a funny one, Lucy. I miss the days you were my good little angel. Your brother really screwed the pooch on that one. We all lost out on that deal. If that never happened, you would still be whole and the world would still be a paradise without all the wars and religions and fakeness." To which Satan replied, "But I like all those things. They make things fun." God took a moment before responding and then said, "I tried to put a stop to their ceaseless breeding over 3,000 years ago. I don't know what happened. One second I send a prophet to tell them to cut their junk off, and the next they mess up the order and only cut a piece off. And then to top it all off, they say I told them to go forth and multiply. I told them to go fuck themselves, not each other. Now look at the mess down there." Satan laughs and says, "I like it. Did you know I just made gay marriage legal?" God gave him a look and went on, "And your brother, every time I send him to be born or possess someone, they put him up on a cross to show people not to cross me, because if I will do that to my own son, then I will not hesitate to do it to them." At this, Satan says, "That's cold. You're supposed to be good." God just says, "I am good. Your brother needs a reminder every now and then. How else are we going to fix this? He knows the curse is lifted when he enters the pieces." And he pointed at Satan and said, "You used to be a good boy." Satan just responded, "I like myself better now. Okay, how about this? A bet. We each pick one of our followers and get them to marry each other. We can pick anyone we want to, no matter how dark and evil or holy and righteous. If they stay with each other, you win. And if they don't, I win. Easy enough, isn't it? And he smiled devilishly. You can pick your most holy follower, your very best. Satan said this, knowing all too well that if a holy person were to meet an evil person, he would no doubt win. So God said, "Deal, choose your champion." So Satan found a girl, paranoid and hateful, dark and full of rage. An image of her popped up on a cloud. She was doing black magic and asking for power. Satan said, "She is who I pick. There is no way she will trust anyone enough to love and be loved. I've already won." At this, God called up an image to replace Satan's. It was a guy in a trench coat who was in the process of painting a tree. He stopped only long enough to pull out an economy-sized bottle of cough syrup and chug from it. God says, "This is my champion." We have somewhat of an agreement. He gave up his free will and now is very close with someone you know. To this, Satan says, "This is your most holy? This is your purest follower?" At this, God laughs and says, "No, what, are you retarded? This is a madman who gave up his humanity, but he belongs to me, and he is who I choose." At that, Satan smiled and stuck out his hand. He and God shook, saying, "Let it be done." And thunder rang out. At this point, Satan says, "The one I chose is possessed by Lilith. She will never submit." God smiled and said, "The one I choose is possessed by your brother Azrael. He will never give up until he's dead, and even then he will keep going." Satan scowled and sped off to earth to whisper in the ear of his chosen and tell her to marry the other. God looked to his chosen and spoke his will. The guy held the syrup bottle to his ear and nodded his head, saying, "Okay." God looked upon him in disbelief and simply said, "Dumbass. There goes the neighborhood." Meanwhile, on Earth, one like a man stands next to a blue tree holding a bottle of syrup up to his ear and trying to figure out why the bottle wants him to get married. "I don't understand, Cousin Genie. Why would I do that?" To this, God replies, "Idiot. I am not within the bottle. I am God, and it doesn't matter why. It is my will, and my will be done. Who are you to question God, Malachi?" To this, Malachi says, "You're the boss, so what now?" He dropped the empty bottle and went back to painting the tree. God continued, "I have the perfect person for your to meet. She is beautiful and smart and just as crazy as you. You are to marry this girl, and once you do not ever leave her under penalty of death." At this, Malachi says, "You would kill me just for leaving her?" God laughs a bit and then replies, "No, but she would. Have fun, Malachi." And the voice spoke no more. Malachi finished painting the tree and set off for home, pondering the words of God. Inside him, the angel of death was doing much the same until he decided to just go to heaven and ask what was up. When he did, God told him to guide Malachi in what was at stake if he failed. A few states away, Satan whispered into the ear of Karma, speaking to the spirit of Lilith inside her. "You must guide this girl to meet God's chosen, and when they meet, ensure they fall in love. Once that is complete, whisper lies to her every night and day to cause her to fight and mistrust him. I will send someone to tempt him and he will fall. He will lie and will destroy him utterly. At this, he went forth to put events in motion to ensure that he would win the bet. Every cheap trick in the book, and some that weren't, he used it all and went forth to do as he planned. When they met, their equal strings brought love at first sight, and 10 minutes later the deal was sealed. Shortly after, they were married. Every day after, Satan went forth to mess things up. He told Lilith to plant the seeds of suspicion so that she will accuse him every day, and he went to one of his other blind followers and had them go to tempt Malachi daily. After facing accusation and temptation, he caved and gave in. One day, after he found that he was feeling bad, people told him that that feeling was guilt, which he had never felt before. He decided to confess so that he would be honest, which Satan did not foresee. Although this caused fighting and it looked like it would end shortly, it didn't. And so Satan told Lilith, "Plant seeds of hate and revenge." She did so and caused the girl to cheat threefold the original offense and tried to hide it. Satan thought for sure that Malachi would leave, and it came close. At one point the girl even said, "I will kill you if you leave me," and yet Malachi stuck it out. Anytime some kind of peace was found, Satan would ruin it, and it turned to fighting and got worse day by day. Eventually, though, he noticed he was losing control of Lilith, for as it turned out, Lilith and the angel of death fell in love as well. When Satan saw this, he became jealous, for he loved Lilith himself. He sent the world against them to try to pull them and drive them apart. Everyone who knew the girl were under the sway of Satan in one way or another, be it booze and worry or envy and hate. They kept doing all they could to break up Malachi and Karma, the match made in heaven and hell. Eventually, Satan committed an act that was against the conditions of the bet, thinking to cheat and have a quick and final end. He had Malachi captured and thrown into prison unjustly, knowing this would cause tension that would break them and make them break up. Meanwhile, God called Satan forth in anger, saying, "Do you think to win in such a way? Do you honestly believe I would let this stand? You have all but written the certificate of divorce yourself, you cheap little bastard." And Satan responds, "So do you concede? It will be much better to just end this now." And God said, "It shall not end this way. I shall give them what they need to survive. You, however, are not to interfere any further. You have done enough damage. Since you wrote such a rule, I have a change of my own. If they do not survive this, Malachi shall not die by your hand or any other than his own." At this, Satan scowled, saying, "Fine, but if they do break up, I get Lilith back, and you need to give her back her evil." And God said, "I do not give evil, it is not my call. But I will grant you into heaven every now and then. There you may try to win her back from your brother." Satan became calm, for he was hatching many plots on many things, as was his nature to do. So God said, "You sit right here next to me until this is over. Either he does well and will make it through, or whether she falls into temptation and causes a fall. No matter what, we both sit here and watch. No more tricks." At this, Satan crossed his fingers behind his back and said, "No more tricks." God simply said, "We shall see what is stronger, love or hate. May the fates ring true."